Many states are still working to finish true vote totals amid ongoing lawsuits from the Trump campaign. One America's Jack Posobiec spoke with pollster Richard Barris to get the latest updates on states still in contention.
Very excited to welcome back on One America News. It's Richard Barris, the director of Big Data Poll. Richard, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, Jack. Thanks for having me back.
So let's talk. You've done a lot of incredible work just in the past week or so. I've really seen you skyrocketing. Tell me, what is the state of play in these states that are going to a recount and some of these states that are actually still counting nearly a week after the election?
So Georgia is one a lot of people have their eyes on. So Biden's lead widened out for a little while there. It's now down back about 8,000 votes. So that comes from ballots that just continue to trickle in. And people should understand that it is normal for Georgia to have some votes trickle in after Election Day. But the flow that we've seen is a little bit different this time around. So my understanding is a couple of thousand have gotten tossed. That's why it came back down to 8. There are military and absentee ballots that are outstanding in Georgia, and people do expect them to be very favorable to the president. North Carolina, we're at a point now where the number of outstanding ballots doesn't exceed the lead for Thom Tillis and just about is the size of the lead for President Trump. So we're waiting on some information from the state, but that we may be coming to a close on that state.
Oh, it's fantastic. How about now for Arizona and Pennsylvania?
So Arizona still has some ballots out. And again, I know this is really frustrating to some people, but the president is in need of a certain margin there. It's all about Maricopa County. The next chunk that comes in Maricopa, that separates them now between 16,000 votes. He really needs to take the lion's share of that, but he can, which is why no one really should have called that race yet. That race was always going to tighten. It was really all a matter of whether or not Maricopa tightened enough to get the president over the finish line.
And where are we looking at in terms of Pennsylvania? Obviously, there's been these mail-in ballots, but there's still a question of some of these provisional ballots that are on the deck, and then also some ballots that have been set aside, segregated by the Supreme Court, or at least ordered to be. We don't know if they actually did.
Yeah, that is the question, right? So a lot of networks have jumped on Pennsylvania. I think that one really needs to play out as well. There are 100,000 provisional ballots. Even Democrats will tell you they view that it does. Those will tilt toward President Trump. And then with the ongoing litigation, and I'm sure there'll be more to follow, you really need to wait for that to play out as well. The margin in Pennsylvania, we're talking about tens of thousands of votes. And the number of ballots that are going to be under question in court challenge is a lot more than the margin. So I understand the networks wanting to close the book on this thing, but they should really just let it play out.
Yeah, and I really think that the quickest way to explain this to people is that provisional ballots are cast in person. And because in person favored overwhelmingly Trump, especially in Pennsylvania, that is the quickest way to explain why provisional ballots are expected to break for Trump, that 100,000 number.
Yeah, exactly right. That's a great, better than I could have put it, really. But also, too, that alone puts aside the issue, the legal challenge issue. And of course, the president's campaign is making the case that you should wait until we even know the ballots that we're talking about. It's absolutely possible, and it has happened in the past, where votes were counted that later are deemed to have been DQ'd, disqualified. So the margin being so tight there, Jack, really, I'm a little bit shocked that they went that far with it, but I think we need to let it play out.
What do you think is the possible outcome of a recount or a recanvass in those states?
So that's one of the number one questions I'm getting over the last couple of days. What's the difference between a recount and a recanvass? A recount, in many instances, depending on the state, but in many, you're just going to put the same ballots through the Scantron machine and you're going to get a little bit different of a total, but for the most part, it really doesn't pick up many irregularities. If you really want to look into irregularities that may have occurred, you really need a recanvass when both sides sit down and go over the votes that were counted. And in Wisconsin, that's a little bit of an exemplary state, because the way that they do conduct recounts is designed to catch more irregularity than other states. Still, it would be significant if it did catch something that big. So if you're Team Trump, you really have to, if you're on the Trump legal team, you really have to try to push for a canvass.
All right. Richard Barris coming to us from Big Data Poll. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the work you do every day.
Thanks, Jack. Anytime.
Want to see more videos like this? Visit OANN.com for immediate access to all the clips you've been waiting to see.